Yep, I'm on. Okay.
You need to move it closer to you. I can't hear you.
Just put it in my lap. At this point, we'll open it up to citizens' comments. Any citizens wishing to speak, you will have 5 minutes. Come to the podium, please. Hold on. Where is it? There we go.
Say test.
Yep, you're good.
It
State your
worked.
name and
It
address.
worked.
Yep, you're
Ray,
on.
Ray Ford Johnny, 8731 45th Avenue in the city of Kenosha. I'm president of Kenosha Common Markets, Inc., which operates Kenosha Harbor Market down on Kenosha's lakefront. I'm here to do two things tonight, give you a little report card, and then ask for some help. The report card is how we're doing. This is our 10th year in operation. I know some of you talked to me already tonight that you'll enjoy it and how good it is. Our first week, we estimated there were 6,000 people present. The second week it rained, we had still 3,000. And the third week and the fourth week were almost 4,500. Well, pent-up demand the first week. We're doing a zip code study to determine where people are coming from. It's our understanding it's proportionally local, but the reach is pretty extensive. We haven't reviewed it yet, but we did do zip codes on Saturday, and I know people were coming as far away as Indiana and Green Bay, as well as Milwaukee and Chicago. And as one of the vendors told me from Wonder Lake, who does 100 markets in the region, he said there are people from Chicago that come down to go to this market rather than go to the green market in Chicago. That's a report card. We're doing well. Some little problems. Some of you saw me directing traffic on Saturday. I should have better things to do with my time than to try to prevent cars from running over pedestrians. Or is it pedestrians not yielding to cars? It's kind of novel to be in a situation where there are more people than cars and cars can't get through. But that's a minor problem. That's a report card. What am I here to ask for? Don't worry, I'm not here to ask for money. At least not tonight. Maybe someday, maybe never. The reason I'm here tonight is we need more vendors. We view Harbor Market as more than just a place to get fresh food, local food. We view it also as an employment center, and we want agricultural vendors as much as possible. And I would say proportionately, we're probably got more than half of our agricultural vendors coming from outside the county. I don't get out to the western end that often. I know a handful of people out there. I wish I knew more. But we need help to get more of the local producers into the market. Particularly, we have need for people that produce meat products. We've had a lamb shortage. We had lamb. This was the first market that Steve Pino from Elkhorn was in. He graduated. He was able to make good contacts because of the market. Now he services Milwaukee, Chicago, and Madison. Only restaurants. Doesn't really sell anywhere else. We had Dietzler Farm. It was another one. It was a beef producer. Same things happened. They do 25 restaurants in Chicago. So there's an opportunity for employment base, but particularly that's what I'm asking for. If you know people in your jurisdiction that could be a vendor in the market that are producing something they could sell, have them call me or you call me, but somehow we'd like to be able to make the connection right within the county. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Any other citizens' comments? Any other citizens' comments? Seeing none, citizens' comments are closed. Announcements of the chair. I do have a couple. First of all, June 19th, the Joint Services meeting, we're going to be interviewing a couple of, or hearing presentations of a couple of consultants regarding our software project. So if anybody would like to make it, I'm just throwing that announcement out there to you. We will be starting at 4 o'clock, special time from not 4:30, 4 o'clock, next Tuesday. Next, I would like to, I do not believe that we have had a county board meeting since the article in the paper came out congratulating Mr. Rogers, Ron Rogers, Director of Kenosha County Division of Children and Family Services, for winning a 2012 Commissioner's Award from the Administration on Children, Youth, and Families. It's a big deal anytime one of our employees wins an award like that. And Ina Tracy, the county spouse board collection supervisor, 11 counties statewide that were granted the Outstanding Performance Award. So Human Services doing a good job. Just wanted to make mention of that. Family with the passing of Ken. He worked for the county for 22 years. He was a highway division foreman. And I just asked everybody to silence with me. With that, we'll move into supervisor reports.
There was a glitch in the system. Can we do roll call again, please?
I've been informed that there was a glitch in the system. We need to do roll call over again. Tell me when you got it. You good? Okay. We'll move on to supervisor report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for mentioning Ken Hedges. He was our paving foreman. And besides the loss to his family and to all his friends, was a terrific loss to our paving crew. And our production here this summer, we're scrambling, getting members of that crew together that are going to, take the lead. But it was a huge loss, and Ken was a very popular guy. I don't know if this falls under anybody's jurisdiction, but I'm going to mention the dairy breakfast. I know people got a flyer if they want to ride their bike there. I don't really like to ride my bike. I take my truck. But the dairy breakfast is cool if you've never been to it, especially if you have children or grandchildren. They start about 6 o'clock in the morning. It's always a very precise, clean, well-kept farm. Good educational thing for children. And it's a fun little breakfast. So you get to run into plenty of politicians, and some of them will even be serving you the eggs with the election coming up in November and probably August. You might see a couple of those guys out there. On highways and facilities and golf, just a couple quick things. We're ahead of last year in sales because of the dry weather. No ifs, ands, or buts. When it's dry and people can get out there on weekends, they're out there. We are ahead on revenue and rounds. The food and beverage staff is receiving rave reviews on some of our new cooking equipment at the golf courses. And we have an increase of 55% in our food service over last year. On the highways, as I said, the paving was held up for about a week there. They're now working on cart pass at Brightondale, and we'll be starting some of the highway production shortly. Memorial Day weekend for parks was the biggest that John Rudy has seen in 38 years that he's worked here for Kenosha County. With the parks were just inundated with people, including the new Katy Park with the catch and release fishing. The Pets roadway and parking lot construction and dam removal, bridge construction are on hold by the State Historical Preservation Office, pending their review of the projects. Apparently there's an old bridge there that they think may have to be reviewed as a historical bridge in Pets. So the last item from Parks, Dr. William Harris, who many know as the veterinarian in Paddock Lake, has made a $12,500 donation for the naming rights for the Old Settlers Dog Park. And that will be our last unnamed dog park. Location of the dairy breakfast. I think everybody should have that on their flyer. It's a Mighty Grand Dairy Farm, 22811 18th Street. And that's a Union Grove address, but naturally it's in Kenosha County. In facilities, we are working on, as you can see, the landscaping for the courthouse. There's 3 bids being brought to us for the materials. Our staff, along with the staff from the extension, are going to be doing the work of installation. We are ongoing looking for a new site for the 60th Street Communications Tower that serves the city, fire department, police department, and county communications. We're working with the city on some of the city-owned land, so we'll be getting back to you on that. So that's a brief report. There's many ongoing projects, but those are some of the highlights. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Dodge.
He turned him off, so turn him on.
Mr. Chairman, fellow supervisors, today Supervisor Holman and I attended a Veterans Commission meeting. As a past decorated combat veteran, veterans in distress is an issue close to my heart. Today, I saw a veteran pleading for help. The sad part is that there's no way we can help the veterans with all that they need, considering what is budgeted. Some we help, some we can't, some we give partial help to. What I'm going to ask for is that we do not cut the veterans in the upcoming budget, and then if at all possible, look for ways to increase our help for them. I have heard the definition of a veteran is someone who, at one time in their life, wrote a blank check to the American people for amount up to and including their lives. Let's not forget them. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we're all still trying to get used to this new intercom system here, but tomorrow night the PDEC meet. Is that better? Okay. Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee will have their first paperless committee meeting tomorrow night. Luckily, on that agenda is basically only one item, which is Country Thunder. Country Thunder started out to have a pretty good year where they were on track with all of their permits and everything. Unfortunately, they didn't get their request into the town of Randall on time, and tomorrow night will be, as usual, where Planning and Development will approve them, and we will be making a phone call down to Judiciary and Law so that they can get their activity control license just in time for Country Thunder again this year. That's about all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Brunig. Supervisor Ron Frederick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, tonight we're talking, and I don't know how much we paid for this sound system, but I think we got shortchanged someplace. Because I'm talking into the mic. Can everybody hear me? But some of us aren't talking. But today, Supervisor Elberman was talking, and we couldn't make him out. Am I the only one? Okay. And I got a hearing aid, okay, and I got it turned as loud as it'll go, you know. I've been told to do that, you know. And then Supervisor Buning just spoke, and I couldn't make her out, okay, even though she spoke right into the mic. So there's something wrong with the sound system in here. Either we got to talk closer into the mic or something, because if we want us to hear what you have to say, that's what we're going to have to do. You can't turn your head away from this mic. It's because it's not sensitive enough or something. I don't know, but you guys got to check this system out because it's still not right. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Frederick. Supervisor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I want to bring to your attention the Finance Committee agenda item number 10. If you would look at the meeting agenda this week, our meeting is at 6:30. Item number 10 is a resolution that annually is brought first to the Finance Committee and then to the County Board. This is a resolution which is advisory to the county executive and to the administration on what we believe the levy objective should be for the forthcoming budget, in this case 2013 Kenosha County budget. So this is an important direction that we give to the administration before that budget is drafted and then presented to the Kenosha County Board for our consideration. This resolution's history started approximately 8 years ago to gain some control over the budget before it was drafted and presented to the board. It's our initial input as to what we believe that levy objective should be. It has ranged from as low as 1.75% to 2.5% to 3%. And if you compare that to the period of time before the resolution was annually considered, we have gotten control, I think, of the budget much more effectively than ever before. So I would encourage your attendance at this meeting. This is a resolution that will be brought to the County Board at our next regular meeting. So you'll, of course, have input there as well and ultimately a vote. But if you want to have something to say at the committee, I would encourage your attendance at the 6:30 meeting this Thursday for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one small housekeeping note, and I have made the same mistake in the past. For all members of this body, Supervisor Reports has typically been reserved for reports from committee. You do have the ability to exercise under supervisor comments, really anything that you see fit to say, just for future reference for housekeeping purposes. That being said, the Human Services Committee met on May 22nd of this year. We discussed the approval of Frank Pussetti to the Workforce Development Board, which is before this body this evening. We also reviewed and approved an award from the Office of Justice Assistance for crisis intervention training for our law enforcement officers. We went through, we had an update about our employment and unemployment and our job training placement programs. Our unemployment rate is hovering just above 8%. If you noted in the recent Wisconsin Counties Association, Brookside received an award for outstanding customer service. And we also reviewed at the committee the human services budget for the first quarter, and I'm told the upcoming financials for Brookside are, quote, outstanding, but I will leave that to the chair of the Finance Committee to enlighten us more on that. Upcoming from the Department of Human Services, Friday, June 13th at the Madrigano Auditorium from noon to 1:30 is Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Next week, Wednesday, June 20th at the Civil War Museum, 5400 First Avenue in the second floor seminar room from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the Healthcare Executives Roundtable. I certainly would encourage members to attend that. There's been great discussion around healthcare in this nation, but particularly the role that counties can play in providing access and affordability to their citizens. This would be a really, really good opportunity for us to get a little further involved in that discussion. Finally, I want to let everyone know that there will be a special meeting of the Human Services Committee on Monday, July 23rd. It will be held at the Kenosha Public Museum, and it's going to have two parts. The first part will start at 6 to 7 p.m., which will be normal committee business. The second part will actually be a town hall that will take place from 7 to 9. The town hall will consist of Wandy Mazio from the Department of Workforce Development. She is our regional labor economist. She will be here to talk about employment and unemployment statistics, and bring your questions, bring your friends, bring your constituents, and have them bring their questions, because she's more than prepared to answer them. Also, speaking along with her will be John Koshkin, who is the head of the Division of Research and Policy of the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. He is the chief economist of the state of Wisconsin. He will be present as well. He just did a presentation on unemployment statistics as it relates to income and tax filings. So we'll be talking about unemployment and income, and any questions you've got, these two folks are definitely prepared to answer them. They do this as part of their job. It's no expense to us, and they're very good. I like the work of both of them very much, and I'm sure you will too. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Holman. Any other supervisor reports? Seeing none, we can move on to F. You're on.
County executive appointments. 4, Ronald Johnson to serve on the Kenosha County Library System Board.
Refer to Finance and Administration Committee.
5, Gabe Noodle to serve on the Brookside Board of Trustees.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
6, Amy Malott to serve on the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
7, Patrice Hall to serve on the Kenosha County Traffic Safety Commission.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee.
8, K.E. Gergen to serve on the Kenosha County Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Refer to Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Old business, ordinance second reading to required. 3, from Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance to amend Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code of Kenosha County, Wisconsin, with reference to zoning regarding proposed amendments to the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreline Floodplain Zoning Ordinance adopting the 100-year dam failure floodplain. Brunig, yes. Decker, yes. Underhill, yes. Dodge, yes. Skalitsky, yes.
Move ordinance number 3.
All those in favor, please say. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This ordinance would amend the text of the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreline Floodplain Zoning Ordinance. The proposed text changes will adopt the 100-year dam failure floodplain as determined through the use of dam failure analysis and profiles developed by Mead and Hunt Incorporated, documented in the report entitled Evaluation of Hazard Potential Meyer Material Company KD Pit Embankment, January 2001, to be compliant with the Wisconsin's Floodplain Management Program and the Wisconsin Administrative Code Chapter NR 116-08.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, a motion on the floor made by Supervisor Brunig, seconded by Supervisor Underhill. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance 4 from Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance to amend Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code of Kenosha County, Wisconsin with reference to zoning regarding proposed amendments to the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreline Floodplain Zoning Ordinance, amending statutory references, department and committee name references, permit future non-substantive text changes, and update the floodplain zoning sections and definitions. Brunig, yes. Decker, yes. Underhill, yes. Dodge, yes. Skalitsky, yes.
Supervisor Brunig?
Move ordinance number 4.
It's been moved by Supervisor Brunig, seconded by Supervisor Brunig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This ordinance would amend the text of the Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreline Floodplain Zoning Ordinance. The proposed text changes will modify statutory references, department and committee name references, and definitions to be compliant with the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 44, Chapter 1, Section 60, and the Wisconsin Administrative Code, Chapter NR 116, including the adoption of the new flood insurance rate maps and the new flood insurance studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Brunig. Anyone else? Motion is made to approve ordinance number 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
New business, Resolution 13 from Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Frank Passetti to the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board. Hallman, yes. Boyd, yes. Anita Johnson, yes. Decker, yes. Arrington, excused. Nudo, yes. Montemero, abstain.
Supervisor Holman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move Resolution 13.
It's been moved by Supervisor Hallman, seconded by Supervisor Boyd Frederick. Supervisor Hallman?
The Kenosha County Workforce Development Board is required by the Workforce Investment Act of 1998 to have a member of city government. As a city administrator, Frank Passetti, along with his 25 years as a private sector employer, is a great match and fulfills this legislation. The Human Services Committee has approved Mr. Passetti's appointment. Just to note, the chairman of this board, Chairman Gentz, came to the committee and supported Frank Passetti for workforce development, as did Supervisor Dodge, who said, quote, "He is a good asset."
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Rose?
I would inquire as to whether that committee interviewed Mr. Passetti. Was he present? The reason I ask is the city and the county have had a number of substantial disputes regarding the health department, the joint services building, among other issues, and we have been at loggerheads, and I think that we have been on opposite sides of the fence on some issues with Mr. Passetti's leadership on the other side, and I am interested in knowing, and I think the board should be interested in knowing what you think he contributes to this, and whether or not how he will be a positive force as opposed to a negative force on this committee.
Supervisor Hallman, did you want to respond to that?
Do the best I can. I hear, and perhaps it very well may be legitimate. First of all, we do not have very many options as to people we could place in this position because of the qualifications necessary to fill this seat. And I think that that's very important. Secondly, this is about job creation. This is not about necessarily negotiating contracts with the health department or anything else. This is about job creation and steering those efforts, which is something that I think we can all be on the same page on 99.9% of the time. So that being said, I don't know that there should be any concerns about confirming Frank Passetti. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Rose?
No, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Ron Frederick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been a member of the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board for, I guess, 10 years. In fact, I was appointed by a previous county executive. And basically there's no action taken at the meetings as far as, any policy or anything. What it is informational. Unemployment numbers, welfare numbers, people on food stamps, generally what's going on in the community, report from nonprofit agencies. So in fact, it would probably, I'm sorry? Oh, in fact, it would probably be an asset for that information to get out to as many people as possible, because, we're talking about the unemployed, we're talking about those on welfare, food stamps, homeless, which people think there aren't any. And so the information gathered there is unemployment rates in the, for the state of Wisconsin. So for him, as many people can be there. Now, everybody doesn't want to serve, So I think it'd be an asset for him to be there to get some of the information that he could bring back to the city, or wherever he, in whatever circle he runs in, because that's all it is. There's no action taken that I can ever remember. I don't think we ever had a motion on anything that meant anything as far as policy.
Thank you, Supervisor Frederick. Seeing no other lights, there's a roll call is requested. Okay, that motion passes.
Claims, Winifred Hegg, loss of property at Brookside.
Refer to the Corporation Council.
Approval of the May 15, 2012 minutes by Supervisor Ron Johnson.
Supervisor Johnson. It's been moved by Supervisor Ron Johnson, seconded by Supervisor Dodge. Any comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. It's been moved by Supervisor Decker, seconded by Supervisor Johnson to adjourn. Favor? Aye. Anybody want to? Anita.
No, I don't know what was Kim and them talking about.
No.
Papers right away. Yeah, I'll write you down because there's a couple. Yeah, you're not here.